Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to 7th Street.
I must warn you, gentlemen, this is undoubtedly a well-rehearsed prelude to some shabby form of confidence trick.
Today we are asking the question, why doesn't anyone reference this film? I'm talking, of course, about the 1965 Amicus anthology horror film, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors.
This deck can forewarn us. I call it my House of Horrors.
First off, let me start by saying that I adore this movie. Not only is this one of my favorite anthology horror films, but it's probably my favorite film made by Amicus Productions. Amicus horror and thriller films are sometimes mistaken for the better-known Hammer Productions, due to the company's similar visual styles and use of the actors Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
What makes you so sure?
Foretelling the future with a pack of cards. Complete rubbish.
Then why are you afraid to try them?
Afraid? To participate in your ridiculous parlor game.
The wraparound story is set aboard a British train, where a mysterious fortune teller played by Peter Cushing uses tarot cards to read the horrifying fate of 5 fellow passengers.
I wouldn't say that, but I've seen the cards before.
Dr. Schreck. Doctor of Metaphysics?
The science which investigates the first principles of nature and thought.
And nonsense.
All the short stories are really well done. The first of which is about a scientist who's terrorized by a giant killer plant.
Seriously, that's it. That's the whole story.
The reason I remember this story so fondly is because of the last scene. The scientist uses fire to escape from the evil plant's clutches, and after the scientist and his family escape from the house, we see the plant patting out the flames.
Boom! That's right, bitch! The motherfucking plant is learning, and it's about to take over the world.
The other really memorable story is titled The Disembodied Hand, and it stars Christopher Lee as an art critic who shames a painter into committing suicide. Subsequently, he is now terrorized by the painter's disembodied hand. Christopher Lee's performance is really what sells it here. It's nice to see him in such an unlikely role. I'm just not used to seeing Christopher Lee playing the victim.
There are some other great performances in this film as well, such as Donald Sutherland as the newly married man to a beautiful French vampire, and Peter Cushing. Of course, Peter Cushing.
Do not jest at the image of a god. God.
But my favorite scene in this movie is definitely the twist ending. The 5 passengers get off the train only to find themselves in the depths of hell. Peter Cushing then reveals his true form, the Grim Reaper. This scene actually scared me when I was a little kid. I have a strange history with this film. I first saw it late one night on AMC. I must have only been about 7 or 8 at the time. It was definitely the late 90s, early 2000s. You know, back when AMC actually played classic horror movies on the weekends. I just remember sitting up super late and being glued to the TV screen. I can even remember telling my dad about it the next morning.
Remarkable. Really remarkable. But I don't think there's very much more that we can say about that particular atrocity.
Sadly, it would be years before I would ever see the movie again. There were even periods of my life where I wondered if I just imagined this movie. Eventually, I discovered IMDb, so I knew that the film actually existed. I just didn't think I'd ever find a copy.
At one time or another during our lives, we may, any one of us, encounter it.
A few years back, I found myself a copy on VHS, and I lost my shit. It had been so long, all this time had passed, I wondered if I'd like it even half as much as I did when I was a kid.
Look at that monster. What did I do?
Look, even though there is no Dr. Terror or any House of Horrors, this one is worth a watch. Go find yourself a copy and ask yourself, why doesn't anyone reference this film?
Ah, well, on that sweet note, boys, we can all get ready to go to the West Indies.